And dude be laughing. He got a good sense of humor, the one that's inside of him. And he do stuff for joke value, shock value, to give him something to laugh at. And he know that 99.9999999% of humans have no fucking clue that the real Elon Musk been took out of the picture a long time ago.
Go ahead.
And it's about 3 different bodysuits he used. He don't even use the same bodysuit all the time.
You can tell. You can tell.
And all of this stuff is like, we supposed to be able to see this because our God mind sees all deception. But they told us at the priest wars told us to not let our God mind activate. And amen.
Okay.
Unknown, concealed, repressed, held back. Amen. Amun. It's the same shit. It's a spell of sleep that you conjuring up on yourself because you believe that you can handle it with your ego's development on your own because they convinced you that you don't need nobody but your ego and your thermos.
Right. Hey,
that come from the dirt.
I'm gonna ask someone. Raw Penn doing his breakdowns. Goddess was asking because this everybody been asking. I got this question 100,000 times, and I got it written down. Dark Goddess. She was asking about because we know on some reservations when I visit some reservations, especially the ones like in that was New Mexico, they didn't pay electricity. They have free electricity, and so they was wondering like on the Big Mama system.
All utilities is prepaid. You don't pay for utilities. That's governmental responsibility.
Right. We really don't. You really can't pay for utilities now. You think you paying for utilities with fiat? You crazy? Look, it's a way you can write that off with a red ink pen. Like I saw some people doing it. I didn't go into it too much, but I remember it. But
that's
I don't paying. We only supposed to be paying water and electric.
Look,
Do it, bro.
It's called redeem it for value, accept it for value. With the red ink, but that's a trap.
How did that? Okay, go into the free electricity and how that works. All it together for us. Go ahead, bro.
Utilities is a responsibility of the government. Big Mama Bank pay all of the government's expenses. That's why everybody contributes to Big Mama Bank voluntarily. Nothing was forced. All of the Big Mamas joined together. There's 12 Big Mamas around the world that, and then they got lesser Big Mamas under them. They go down in series of 12 in the pyramid formation, but the 13th seat at the top is reserved for one with a very specific DNA coding on their genetics. The new system will only activate under the codes that's on the genetics of the correct heir. This takes you back to your Lack Z gene, your Henrietta Lack crisis in the medical industry of America, and the immortality and the proper owners of the planet. No man owns Earth. Earth is owned by the women. And this was determined because the same mitochondria in the woman is also in the soil of the earth. No cell can function without mitochondria. You cannot get it from your father line. You can only get it from your mother line. This is why property rights is heritable only through the mother line, because it's through the mother line that you can take a soil sample and match it to her DNA and know exactly that she was from Mississippi clay dirt walking in the age of Atlantis 287 million years ago when she decided to take form on her own. But we don't want to talk about that because we still caught up in Anunnaki wars. Before Anunnaki wars, Big Mama was running the show. This was the place that the other people referred to as heaven. But you couldn't get in with a phallus until the gender contract was created. The gender contract was created because one of the Anunnaki was exiled for challenging his brother or his brother took the throne from him. Right? So when he didn't have nowhere to go, they have to create now what's called a gender contract. That we can't take you. Well, this is my situation. And then they found out he was 100% truthful, of good character and good standing, so they made a concession. They didn't know he was going to come with a tailwind of ragtag assholes. And by the time they figured it out, they created the defender of the earth, a parthogenic male child, as the firstborn of the earthborn, incarnated wisdom. So when we looking at the old systems, new systems, we going back to the first system. Everybody been telling us the whole time that the first gonna be made last and the last gonna be made first. But nobody's telling us why. Because the ones that's at the last place at the close of the age is the firstborn of the earthborn. And they are the ones responsible to shift the system to a functional and operational system at the conclusion of the war. The war was 6,000 years long. Years didn't exist in Atlantis because time didn't exist. So the whole time data is distorted because the linear time had to be inserted in order to cap off the war. If the war got a beginning and it got an ending, and both of them is a definite point between beginning and end, alpha to omega. Omega is not the last. Omega is the first. Alpha is the last. But we got it all twisted. We think when they say from alpha to omega, that alpha is the beginning. No, omega is the beginning. And if you don't believe me, go find one of them omega fraternities and say, is omega the beginning or is alpha the beginning? And they're going to look at you in utter shock because they told in secret and they ain't supposed to tell nobody. But if you ask somebody in good faith and goodness and truth and you got the right blood, they got to tell you the truth. So the Omicron, which is the alpha, came out of omega.
Go ahead.
So now you talking about the creation of your Aleph in Arabic, in Hebrew is Aleph, right? So now this is creating an English variant, took from the Greek alphabet, and it made the letter A. The letter A is a pyramid with the bottom pushed halfway to the top. What do that mean?
Right.
Half cocked. These ones, because when you put the bottom back on it, it ain't alpha no more. You know what it is? It's delta now.
Yeah. You crack heads. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, all these is codes. These the light codes that's been trapping us mentally for thousands of years. That's why I had to go through my whole life miserable and suffering, and people thinking that I was a totally babbling idiot because they couldn't understand the shit that was coming out of my mouth. So I had to stop talking for a period of time. This is the same stuff I was telling my sister, my mom and them when I was 2 years old. And they was like, what is this boy talking about? Then they had to take me to my big mama. Big mama, what is he talking about? And she said, baby, know exactly what he's talking about. I'm 2 years old. Telling them how we being deceived. My mama told me when I was about 3. She started telling me on a regular basis, baby, you can't tell people everything you thinking because they're going to think you crazy, put you in a mental institution and dope you up and make you to a vegetable. And I knew what a vegetable was from watching the TV. Otherwise, I wouldn't have never knew what she was talking about until I got grown. But I ended up seeing the dude on the comatose state and I heard him on the TV show say he a vegetable, and it made it click, and I wasn't even for it. I really shut down then. I really got to turn this shit down. And then I started watching everybody saying, how can I act like I'm one of them? I didn't even know how to act like I was regular. I used to levitate when I was a baby, but don't nobody remember it now. Or at least they say they don't. Because don't nobody want to be
crazy.
Looked at. Yeah. Oh, you just co-signing that bullshit. So now they be like, it sounds like something that we would have been laughing at, but I don't remember. Yeah, you don't remember, but you looking at it in your brain because I'm looking at you looking at the actual event in your brain because we was connected at the moment that it happened.
Hey, this another quick. Hey, Rod, I got another serious question for you because everybody asking this question. I got it written down. They saying that, okay, the immigrants and people was mad. I know y'all was mad about the pictures and the Big Mama's playing. I'm gonna put more Nubian pictures in there next time. I really let the AI generated that thing based on like I haven't put the plans in there, but I let them generate the pictures. And I didn't think about it, but there are people that like the pictures, and they saying the $5 Indians and the $3 Indians on there, and even a little bit, a couple 50-cent Indians. They ain't like the 50-cent Indians neither. But this is the thing I'm making about the immigrants. Now we notice they're bringing a whole bunch of immigrants over. Now, how's the land gonna be distributed once this government gone and they got the states now? They got the Georgia, and we didn't have it like that. We had territories based on tribal territories. So how's the land gonna be divided? Is people gonna get because people thinking that, once Big Mama take over, Big Mama gonna give everybody a house, and Big Mama gonna give everybody some land and 40 acres and a mule. Is Big Mama gonna get
They're not too far off.
Go ahead.
But it ain't like, for instance, cities in the inner city, whoever is the godfather of the city, the mayor is supposed to be the big mama of the town. And Chicago got aldermen, but some town got city councilmen, right? And they supposed to represent the neighborhood. Them was all women's positions under the tribes. The politics was left to the women because there's a lot of arguing that goes on, and men arguing tends to lead to war instead of solution. But two women arguing will come up with a solution before they ever get to the war part. So in the cities, it's going to be different. But the people that live in the city are going to be tied to the people in the country by family heritable land rights. And all of your family not going to look like you. Keanu Reeves might be young Elder's cousin and he don't even know it yet. With motherland blood.
Because he a Black Irish. Yeah, that's gonna be true, Roy, because my grandma is Black Irish. My granddad is mama. She a Black Irish.
Look, my great-grandfather that raped my great-grandmama was an Irishman.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, same
His
thing.
brother has a park named after him in Macomb, Mississippi, not too far from it. It's called Percy Quinn Park. The Quinn's side of the family is both pale-face and red hybrids.
That's what my granddad and them is. Yep, my dad.
Okay, now, if anybody can look up Percy Quinn Park, that's the dude that raped my grandmama and got her pregnant is his brother.
Go ahead.
He Irish.
Go ahead.
Now, on my grandfather Hezzy's side, he don't have Irish blood. This is my grandmama's husband. That's my mama's daddy.
Yeah.
He comes from the French Creole, them Algonquin long-faced chiefs with that wavy curly hair that be slicked back.
Yeah.
Right? That's his heritage. They married in with the French.
Yeah.
But the French, they was already there before the French came. Them people that they call in Creole culture goes back long before Columbus ever came over here.
Right.
Most of us on the land, from the land, have no clue that all immigrants can welcome to come to the Americas, but it was one caveat. You have to come through Port Nola.
Go ahead.
If you don't come through Port Nola, them tribes, this is why Sitting Bull had to take that public lashing from Tupac Amaru, because he didn't do what he supposed to did. When he recognized the traders on the land, he didn't sound the alarm and we got overrun.
Damn.
Had he done that, they would have never made it past the Louisiana. It would never made it to the Louisiana Purchase. It would have never been no bloody run in Detroit. And the only thing we would have been having to protect from the French would have been the islands, specifically Haiti.
Okay.
Or Haiti. Them people been there so long that if you dig down deep enough, you can match the strata to the numbers of hundreds of years. And I guarantee you go down 1,000 years under one of them mountains and find bones of people that was living in Haiti that match the blood of some of them people walking around today. Right? But they don't want to do the motherland research. They only want to go with the fatherland because the fatherland can be cut off anytime the mother pick another man to have a baby with.
Hey,
That's what people don't understand.
Hey, Jet Jones, I got something coming out on the tribes. A correction on that tribe. It's not the Texas tribe. It is a Texas tribe that's similar to that name, but I found that tribe is down in South America. I'm gonna get back more with you on that, Jones.
The Arawak's point of origin is the Congo basin of South America called the Amazon basin.
Okay.
When you look at a lot of the bush people in the Amazon with the gold skin and the black straight hair, because they was marrying people from China.
Okay.
So now the blood is an admixed of Asian and organic. Negrito is the genetic classification that they gave us in science. So if you want to find us in science and you don't want to look under Negro, you don't want to look under colored African America, the scientific reference to the people that's organic to the both North and South and Central America, they called us Negrito. It's the same mother line as the people from Japan, the people from India, original people. They all trace back to people from Australia and the Tonga, Samoan Islands. They all trace back on the mother line as Negrito. But you have different settlers coming in on the father line. So now you have multiple Y chromosome derivatives. See, but the mother line you can't conceal. You can only conceal the father line, and that's why the line say it's mama's baby, but daddy's maybe. The woman genetically in her uterus, you can fertilize an egg. She can go into the queen's chamber of her brain where she stored genetic information from everybody she ever been with, and she can make a composite child in her womb using your sperm as the catalyst. She built this child subconsciously because we don't do it consciously no more. And now this girl can test everybody that she ever slept with and she won't be able to find the father. She just created a whole new Y chromosome bloodline by patching together all of the different bloodlines that she ever slept with.
Doc talk about that too. Doc talk about that. People don't know about how powerful DNA is.
Yeah. But even typing, right? Next time we come on, bring this book and pull this book out. So next time I come on with you, I can show you the book. But blood typing can trace you back to a single square block of area in any land. That was in the 40s and the 30s. DNA is supposed to be more accurate than that. It's not. Because the way that they was using to trace you by the typing, it also goes into changes in diet that took place from where you originate from. They can tell you which land your bloodline settled on before it got to you based on the changing in the type and the rate of change that it take. And then they have markers, that they used to like. Type A might have 15 letters behind it, right? But see, that was before they understood about the genome and decoding the genome. Now the genome took all of that string behind the A on the blood type, and then they put it into one letter. And they supposed to have all that data under that one letter, but they don't put it all in there. This is why DNA analysis is not accurate as it should be. But all that's going to be corrected. But they've been using it to usurp us. They've been using it to oppress us. Everything has been designed to oppress us, no matter how harmless it may seem. The dog pound has been used to oppress us, right? It no matter what, you can't. The church is supposed to be the most benevolent thing to people. But that's because they don't want you to know the history of the church. They only want you to know what the preacher tell you on Sunday.
Right.
Right? When you know the history of the church, you're like, wait a minute. This is a military contingent called priests that's operating in a spiritual warfare on the behalf of somebody that's not us. Whoever this Yahweh character is that they represent. And whoever his son is that the Allah people represent.
Right.
And whoever his brother is that these sinners represent. Right. And whoever Yahweh, whoever believe in him, they the ones who give you a false promise of an eternal life when you are already an eternal being. Nobody has to promise you that. You just have to come to terms with death.
Right.
Soon as you come to terms with death, you can talk to, in your DNA, you got a direct hotline to any ancestor that's on your DNA, because that's still you in a different form. Right?
Hey,
So they don't want you to know that. That's part of eternal life.
Right. Man, we in the think tank. I got a couple more questions for you, man, because people want to know this one. I took all day to write them down because they was like, "Oh man, I want to know this about."
Go
Now
ahead. Just ask the question. Now that we here,
the jobs system and the system of way we get paid. We get paid every 2 weeks. I remember somebody was saying in ancient Kemet, somebody complained about it, and then they started paying everybody every week. Now, when we transition over to the new Big Mama's new currency, you was talking about a brick. And but before we talk about the brick, I'm gonna come back and ask about the brick. But I want to ask you about the doula centers and the medical. We already talked about the doula centers before, right? Now the doula centers, because I listened to Trump now and saw how they was talking about birth control and controlling the birth and this and that. How would the Big Mama's doula centers play a part in the bringing forth for the new generation? Could you go in this a little bit on that? Touch on that. Go ahead.
Okay, so right now you have a lot of doulas that's starting to reclaim the practice of being a doula. This is the history or the origin of your medical community, your health practitioners. If you go back to Credo Mutwa, he tell you that it was a group of women who communicated with the different plants that gave us our herbalists. These women was before gender, right? They parthogenically reproduce because there was no gender. There was no polarity to the birthing process. It was on a singularity frequency. There was no opposite shit because there's no gender. When you hear the Hermetic laws, the 7 Hermetic laws or principles, the law of opposites, the law of gender, the law of frequency, the law of vibration, all of these are contingent on separation from the singularity, right? Before they start coaching the children to be this elemental P community, right? Prior to that, only certain people would be born with both genders embodied in one person, and the gender that they physically represent be suppressed over the gender that they actually are. You call them today homosexuals. But it wasn't a sexual thing. They wasn't here trying to have sex. They didn't come. They was called two gender people, and they was a different group of human than the rest of us. But when they found out that they can use the priesthood to convert children to an alternative lifestyle, now you get the debauchery in the age of Noah, right? And they identify when that was introduced to humans. Humans in a natural tribal state without interfering from any colonizers don't produce male homosexuals. They have to be some kind of way indoctrinated with one of the Romance or Roman cultural derivatives in order for the women to even consider giving birth to a man who's not naturally supposed to be two gender, to give him feminine tendencies. This is taught in early childhood, and except for the ones that was sacred and they was two gender people. Sometimes they was born hermaphrodites or hermaphrodites, but that was rare. They normally look like one gender, but they got the spirit of both, which means they got two brains, a fully functional masculine brain, a fully functional feminine brain. And the artistic expression was more pleasing to behold than the linear logic. So the artistic expression was always celebrated coming from the two gender people. And they used that and they weaponized it and turned it into a whole agenda of conversion of males to the alternate gender in order to rid the world of warriors. That was Yahweh's promise, that he would rid the world of warriors once it was totally under his control. But his method to rid the world of warriors that was rejected during the time of Noah, when you go back to the Anunnaki tablets, they using that as a means of birth control to promote the males to have sex with males. They cannot reproduce. And now that you've convinced the woman to no longer reproduce through parthogenesis, you promote the woman to sleep with the woman because they can't reproduce. That was all Enlil's design, or Yahweh's design, right? So when we come into modern times, we realize all of these things that they've been using that's supposed to be for benevolent purpose was weaponized for nefarious means. Remember, the war in heaven landed on earth. And they never told us the war ended.
Hey, that's facts, God. Revelations chapter 12:7.
They say, and Michael and his angels
Yeah.
fought with Lord Set and his angels, or Satan, is Lord Set. And Michael and his angels who the Enki, okay, now we talking specifically Enki's son, Marduk, who grabbed him by his crackhead neck and slapped him off of Nibiru down to the earth.
Right.
Through a portal.
Right.
It was a fist fight between a uncle and a nephew.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the details about the fight like I was there, but I know who can. And that's Malachi York. And he's going to eventually tell about the war in heaven, how Inanna was attacked by her brother Enlil, who wanted to claim Earth above her when she had mitochondrial rights to tie her to the Earth. He didn't like it. And she told him to give her a baby. Now we're getting into the details of the war in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Enki, which they call him the dragon in Revelations, said that he was waiting to receive the child, the male child, from the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All of this is all taking place.
He's talking over here. He's talking over his now.
All this stuff taking place in Revelations about the family conflict on Nibiru.
Right.
Or as they say in the Orianos, the heavens. Orion, we talking about the story of Osiris being slain by his brother Set, who became, he was in Set, became Satan, and his brother, the Osirian, or the heavenly one, whose body was designed to match on the ground the stars in the sky of the Orion constellation. Right? And it was the sun who's represented as Heru, who is the black dog, which is actually on the chessboard a knight.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the heels of the father learning how to be a great man, the green man, the one who loves to win, or he loves to go, the green light, Sufi order. I'm just backtracking the linguistics along the storyline. So when the green one manifests, he steps forth out of the heart chakra of the mother to become David, the beloved David, and she raises him up to become Solomon, or the soul man walking, Solomon, the wise one, and wisdom is justified of her children. And this why Mama is the master masons, the master of all masons, and she's being tested for her Isis seat as Het Heru, the heiress to the throne, by the current Big Mama, right? And the only way she can prove it is she has to, without the aid of the man, mold a man without a man's guidance as the key. In other words, raise your child up to be God-like, and he will take God form as an adult. But if you raise him to be manly, then when he take human adult form, he will be man-like, right? And if you convince him to be man-like, he's gonna aspire to be mankind, a kind of a man.
Right.
Right? This is called de-evolution. Once he accepts himself as a kind of a man, now he's just a shell of himself. Right? That means he no longer has a soul.
Go ahead.
Because in order to be the true self, you can't be mankind, just the shell. You have to embody the soul. Right? But instead of dressing from the ground up, you dress from the top down. And wisdom of the mother falls on the heads of the babe as she speaks. And they say she comes to town with a monkey on her back. And everybody thought she had a Jones. But the monkey on her back was a baby who grew up to be a full fucking grown gorilla. Right?
Mm-hmm.
All of this is taking us back to the war in heaven being unraveled as it plays out in the human arena as a storyline and political satire that comes from the Republic of Rome that absorbed Helen and her Greek culture
Go ahead.
and use the art in order to conceal the war. And the commission to settle the island of Crete was given to Het-Heru, which was the daughter that was the next heir in line to learn how to civilize man. She didn't say to uncivilize man. She said how to civilize man. But what does civilize mean?
Right.
Civil means it's orderly. And to eyes it is to polarize it with, or to infuse it and polarize it with the predisposition for order.
Mm-hmm.
And you do this with something called the law. The law is the methodology or the rollout program of how to govern the land, air, and water on behalf of higher intelligence while you are in a state of lesser intelligence. Right? So if you want to raise your thoughts into the thinking of God, you got to be big enough, bad enough, and brave enough to call yourself God.
Right.
And that right there is belligerent to the rest of the people who can't fathom in their mind that you become the God that saves yourself when you realize the God that's in you speaking to you, and you let that God speak through you to the people that's listening to you. At first, they not gonna get it.
Let's see.
But put the record on repeat. That means put the cycles in a loop. The record is the accounting of things past. The universal record, we call it the Akashic record.
Right.
Right? But what did her voice sound like?
Go ahead.
You see what I'm saying? Akashic got a record, but what do her voice sound like? Matter of fact, Akashic got a record, what they charge her with.
Go ahead.
Right?
You going in.
Right. So now if you want to weigh her out, you got to consult her sister, Mott, who keeps all things in balance, or the sister who keeps the record.
Mm-hmm.
She keeps the record because she's a record collector. And Mott is telling you where Ma is at. She's on the balance.
Okay.
Mother on the balance. Who is the redeemer of the mother? Daddy dead. Has to be the son. The son grows up to become exactly like the father, because now he's aspiring to be a father figure, right? In the shape of the father he was raised in the shadows of, right? Always wanting to go, but Papa was a rolling stone.
Right.
Right. And because Papa was a rolling stone, he kicked the little dog to the curb who became the black stone. He can't take him with him until he learned how to bump straight off his mama.
Go ahead.
Right. These is Masonic codes that ties to stellar events, that ties to biblical oratory, that ties to the war that landed on earth, that came from heaven. And we are the ones that has to wake up to the knowledge of self. I am not mortal. I am immortal in a mortal time frame for a fixed position. in order to settle a condition that has confused the minds of the masses into becoming the cattle that they said they didn't never want to be. Well, I ain't never want to see her. When did I say that? You said you don't need no leader.
Right.
So stop looking for a leader. But the only people that don't need a leader is the leader.
Right. Good. Hey, you got a point there.
The only
Hey,
people that don't need a leader is the leader.
that's facts.
And the ancestor said the one that know the path must lead on the journey. Why is that? Because experience is the best teacher.
Go ahead.
If you ain't walked through the darkness, how can you come into the light and explain the difference to somebody who never seen the darkness?
Go ahead.
Right? If you haven't walked on the underbellies of society, how you gonna tell the socially upright where their error is? By keeping them people on the underbelly.
Go ahead.
And the only reason they stand down there because they strong enough to take it because oppression is atmospheric. You can only be oppressed to the level that you're willing to accept the oppression. Because most people don't want consequence. So therefore they dare not to take action. And then they don't need a leader. But they following everything that the mainstream is doing. But they don't need a leader.
More questions out. We got about 22 minutes. I want to get another before we get to the 2-hour mark. Now, a shout out Dream Maker. I got you. We got to get that question written down. We're gonna ask that question for you. Shout out for the I think it was for the super chat. We're gonna get your questions, Dream Maker. The next question I got for you, Raw, because we're crunching the time. On transportation, people asked about transportation and they asked about the license, and now they got to have license to do this, license to be CDLs. And they said they kind of like the license system a little bit because it controls on if a crazy fool can't drive or somebody too old to drive because a vehicle and these vehicles.
It won't be restricted by the state. First of
Go ahead.
all, I know where you're going with this.
Go ahead.
It's up to the family to determine that this family member can't drive. So now this family member that can't drive has an appointed driver in the family. Their job that they can live their best life doing is driving this person around because they not fit to drive. That's going to be a family function, right? And the territories might have varying ways in which they roll out how fast you can go, whether we have speed limits or not, because speed limits are useful in cities, but they're not useful on the highway. Right? The Autobahn is more useful for long distance travel, but the speed limits and a lot of the traffic signs is most useful in cities and city outlays. You got to look at what's functional and why is it functional there? Because the type of traffic that goes through a city, you need more information to get from point A to point B, right? So that's going to vary by local government's decision. In the local government, if they write you a citation from the local government, you take it to your Big Mama bank, and Big Mama, which is your banking committee now, because every family gonna have a family banking committee, so nobody can't take all of the money from everybody else, right? Because we inherently greedy. We say we not, right? We say we wouldn't take our siblings' shit. We say that we support the family sticking together, but under certain conditions, family members sell each other out on a regular basis. So to prevent that, the banking has to have enough members of the banking committee that's based on the people that understand the process of banking. City citations is to be dealt with between cities, right? So if you live in Chicago and I live in Detroit and I come to Chicago and I violate their rules, they write me the citation. I give it to Big Mama Bank. When I get home, she give it to the city of Detroit, and then they settle up on that. Cause it's just like, this is why we had check-in chiefs. Cause if you ain't supposed to be driving and your driver is bringing you to another chief's territory, and he get the word you're not supposed to be driving, he's gonna also appoint you a driver. So if you come with one, they can enjoy the trip. But you got a driver appoint. There's amenities that comes with the check-in chief. The check-in chief don't supposed to ask you for no money. He ain't supposed to extort you. He's supposed to be the one who relegates the courtesies of the local tribes to the visiting tribes people from other lands or other territories from wherever you from. So you go to the check-in chief, he gonna make sure that whatever you need, the barber is here. Because the barber normally was the check-in chief back in the day. That's why it's a high-ranked tribal position. It's a high-ranked tribal position. So the barber is the check-in chief. He gonna tell you who to go talk to if you need clothes, who to talk to eat, you don't never have to spend a dime on another territory, because they take care of each other across territories by having the check-in chiefs tell them what chiefs is doing what on the land. Oh yeah, Sonny Boy over there, he do the barbecue. And then you got Willie Boy, him and his uncle Charlie, they fix all the cars, so they're giving you the lay of the land all the time. You're getting the fresh ass fade. Right? So by the time your haircut is up, you know everywhere to go and who to talk to.
That's facts. Hey, they tried to bust that up though. That was man. That's big that you said. Yeah, go ahead.
Now they villainizing it. They villainizing it because they don't want us to go back to our culture.
Right.
So now they got these characters masquerading as check-in chiefs, telling people to check in and robbing them and shit like that.
Yeah.
But they hiding it from the locals. Especially if they got any understanding of the functions of tribe and they find out that the check-in chief is extorting and robbing people, he gonna come up missing.
Yeah, they used to behead them back in the day.
They literally used to come up missing. Whatever they did with them, they did. Because you ain't supposed to mistreat. Big Mama's rules is courtesy to strangers. She's xenophiliac. She's not xenophobic. And this is how this became the great melding pot. Because once you got Procyon and Nola,
that's right.
You go talk to the Big Mama down there. She just your character, how you behave, your mentality. Now she know what part of the land to send you where you gonna fit right in with the local tribe. No matter what you look like physically, didn't matter. Yeah, Big Mama don't play. Big Mama, look, when Big Mama put on man shoes, it was fight time. Everybody know how to fight come and follow. If Big Mama got man shoes and she